Manas, and I'm back with the part 6 of the Python tutorial series. In this part, we will be discussing lists. So, what is a list? What is a list in our daily life? A list helps us to organize things. So, it might be a shopping list, which is written on a piece of paper telling us what all we need to buy, right? Now, what exactly is a list in a programming language? So the list, I can try to make this analogy, that list is exactly the same thing as the paper in our real life. So when we go out to do some shopping, we don't write oranges on one small chit, apples on another small chit, bananas on another small chit, bread on another small chit. What we do instead is we take all these names or we take all the data and we write it on one piece of paper. So the important thing is the list in any programming language is one piece of paper. Now this is a simple analogy, but let's try and understand why is a list so useful. So you can imagine that the variable in a programming language is similar to what do you call that? A small chit, a small chit, right? So now the variable can only store, let's say, an apple. It can only store one word, right? You can say A is equal to apple, B is equal to banana. Okay, sorry, banana, and you can say B is no, sorry, you say BREAD is equal to bread. Now what's happening? If we have a shopping list, you can keep on going, adding things like cake is equal to cake, and you can say some sauce is equal to sauce. Now what's happening with each item that we are storing, with each data that we are adding, we are creating another variable. We are creating A, B, bread, cake, sauce. Now wouldn't it be nice if we had a list, or if we had one piece of paper which had all this data written down in it? So how do we do that? Well, that's done with the help of a list, right? So let's get started with what is a list. Now we've discussed the usefulness of a list, but let's define it programmatically. So a list can be defined like this, simple. It's just a pair of square brackets. Now I can say k is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is a list of numbers from 1 to 10. I can define a shopping list, which is equal to apple, comma, banana, comma, bread, comma, and we could add, let's say, some cakes. Now, if this is a big piece of paper, how do we access this apple? How do I get this apple? If I want, let's say, my friend to know the first item of my shopping list, what do I say? I will say k of 1, right? I will say k of 1. No, in the real world, I will say k of 1, or I will say shopping list. The first item of my shopping list is shopping list of 1. But programmatically, there is something known as index, yeah. So that index value starts from 0. So so let's print some things out just to get a sense of what's happening. So if I print out the shopping list of 1, you will see that it prints out banana. It does not print out apple. And that's because of a very important idea called index or indexation. Not indentation, indexation. I don't think there's a word like that. That's why I stuck to index. So the index always starts from a 0. I wish I could make this a little bigger, but this is very important that in any programming language, the index starts from 0. So if I say shopping list of 0, that is, this is referencing to what value? I want the 0th value of my shopping list. So the 0th value of my shopping list will give me an apple. You can see when I run this, it gives an apple. Now, if I say I want cakes, will I put 1, 2, 3, 4? If I put a big 4 over here, I will get a nice error, which is list index out of range. So, what is the index of cakes? It is 0. If you want, I can just put that in over here as 0, and then this is a 1, this is a 2, and this will be a 3. So, if I put a 3 over here, you can see that it prints out cakes. So this is the shopping list in a programmatic way. We can also do the same thing with our number list. We can say print k of some number. I'll call it L. Okay. Now we want to get, let's say that this value, the 10th value, or no, not the 10th value. Sorry, we want to get 10. So what value will it actually be? It will be 9, because it starts from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So the data 10 is stored in the ninth index. So if I print this, you can see that it prints out 10, which is the ninth index of K, and the third index of shopping list, which is. So now that we've understood the basic concepts of a list, let's try and understand the more uses of a list. So let's say you're tasked with inputting 100 numbers. So you need to input 100 numbers. Now, how do you go about this job? You could well say A1 is equal to input, enter number 1. Okay, and like that, you could have A2, A3, all the way till A100. Write all of these variables A2, A3, A4, enter number 2, 3, 4, 5. But this is a very inefficient way of inputting numbers. So what can we do? We just learned about lists, which tell us that instead of having 100 variables, we can just have one variable input. Let's say input list is our variable, which is a list. And we can define that as an empty list, since we want the user to input all the data into that list. So how exactly do we go about this job of inputting 100 numbers? So from last class, you might remember that when we wanted to do repetitive tasks, we used loops. So can we use a loop here? Definitely. That's exactly what's going to solve our problem. So let's say for I in range 100, which is going to help us input these numbers, I'm going to define a variable a, which is going to be just the input of what the user enters. And then what we can do is we can do input list dot append, which is a function we'll discuss, a, and then I'll just go ahead and print out this input list. Okay, so if I run this, enter a number, let's say we enter 2, we need to enter 100 numbers, so I'm going to stop this and I'm going to change this to only 10 numbers so that it becomes simpler for us to see. So if I enter 5, 90, 21, okay, random numbers, you can see that it's inputted all these 10 numbers with only 9 lines of code, right? In fact, it's like much lesser, and we have only one variable called input list, which is through which we can access all of these 10 elements. Now you might see that this is stored as a string because it has those two single quotes, so we can just change this input format to an integer. And then if I make this, let's say 5 elements, you can see that. Okay, so as you can see, it's now storing this as integers in a list. Now with this technique, we can input not 5, not 50, we can input as many numbers as we want. If you have the patience, you can keep on typing all of these numbers. But yeah, with just this much of code, we are now able to input so many numbers. Now this function append, what exactly does this function do? This append function adds an element. Okay, I can write that down. It adds an element, to the list. Now it adds that element to the list. Now when we see what did we discuss in the last class was that the for loop I, the loop variable I, always starts off as 0. And we discussed in a list also that the first index of a list, is always 0. So this absolutely abides with the way we are inputting, because I starts off from 0, so we are basically appending the 0th position with the first day. Then in the second iteration, we are appending, or we are adding in the first index we are adding the next day. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that in iteration 1, we are making we are making input underscore list of 0 as a1. Then on iteration number 2, we are making input list of 1 a2. So I hope that was clear what this append function does. So now that we've discussed how we can input absolutely n number of values with the help of lists and for loops, let's try and discuss some more functions that lists can help us with. So let's declare a list. Let's say k is equal to 1, 4, 5, 6, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is, let's say, a list that we've declared, and we want to put an element 7 over here in between 5 and 6. So at index, so what we'll do is we'll say k dot insert. We want to insert the value of 4. What would we say? We want to insert the value of 7, sorry. At what index exactly is that? 0, 1, 2, and 3, right? We want it to come at 3. So we want to insert 7 at the index of 3. Now if I do that and I print out k, we can see that it does 1, 4, 5, and then at the index of 3, which is 0, 1, 2, and 3. At the third index, it has inserted the value 7. Now, some other functions with lists are the follows. Wow. So we can obviously print out the sum of all the elements of our list. So if I say print sum of k, you can see that it prints out 600, which if you check with the calculator should turn out to be 600. And another very important function with lists is actually the length function. Now the length function is very simple. It just gives you the length or the number of elements in the list k. So if we do this and it prints out length as 15, we can be sure that there are 15 elements in this list. So let's count. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So as you can see, there are 15 elements in our list k. So that length function is very useful in determining how many elements are there in our list. Some other functions like count. So if we have k dot count and let's say we want to count the number of times 3 is there in our list. So if I put 3 and I will print this out. If I print out the number of 3's in our list, you can see that there are 3 3's in our list. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so those are the 3 3's, or with the help of the count function, determine how many number of elements are there in our list. Now some other functions, I'm just going to throw them at the screen right now. And then because it's just very simple stuff, we can discuss it. So we can put the minimum value of our function. We can find out the maximum value of our function, and this is not the syntax, the way of doing it. We put k or our list in this min and max function, and you can see that the output is 1 and 232. 1 is the minimum value in our list and 232 is the maximum value in our list. Now another very important function called the pop function basically deletes an element. Okay. So now why would you want to use that? Well, definitely when you will be programming, there are several instances where deleting elements from a list comes very handy. So if I say print, or we'll do this, we'll do k dot pop. We want to pop, let's say this 4. We want to remove this 4. So we want 1, 5, and then I think we added a 7. So we want 1, 5, 7, 6, and so on. So this comes at the index 1. So I will do k dot pop of 1. And when I print out k again, we can see that it has absolutely removed that element 4 from our list k. Okay. Now let's try and also do another function called the sort function. You might have guessed what the sort function already does. It basically sorts the list. So if I print out k after sorting this list, right, you can see that this list is now in ascending order. Great. Apart from this, there's another very important function, and I'm going to get rid of all of that. It's called the index function or the index of function. So what this index function does is it gives the index value of an element in our list. So let's say I want the index value of this 5. So I will put a 5 over here and I will print this out. Let's say p is equal to this index value and we print out p. So we can see that it prints out 2. That means this element 5 exists at the second index in our list, which satisfies our definition of index starting from 0, 1, and 2. Now, if I put a 3, which index will it give me? Will it give me this index, or this index? Well, it will always give you the first index of that element. So if I put 3, it is not going to give me this index or this index. It's going to give me this index, which lies at 0, 1, 2, and 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So as you can see, the first 3 lies at the index of 4. And now that we've discussed most of the important functions of lists, I hope that everybody has had a great time learning Python, and I've had a great time taking these tutorials. So I hope, yeah, and I wish you all the best in your Python journey. Bye bye.